Don't worry, I had
I'd like to call to order the Committee of the Whole meeting. Roll call, please.
Member Castellano?
Present.
Member Capola?
Present.
Member Dugan?
Present.
Member Gately?
Present.
Member Magnolia?
Present.
Member Pena?
Present.
Mayor Nicholson?
Present. On our agenda right now, we are very honored to have a presentation of Certificate to English High Junior ROTC program. I will turn it over to Superintendent Ruggiero.
I am so honored and proud to present to you Sergeant Major Jose Bito and his students, his cadets, Diana Cuevas, Jarielis Coriano, Emily Robles, and Precious Akande. And if you would come forward, I received a letter from the United States Marine Corps that states, designation of Lynn English High School Marine Corps Junior Reserve Officers Training Corps Honor School. In recognition of exemplary performance during the previous 12 months, the Lynn English High School Marine Corps Junior Reserve Officers Training Corps, or our Junior ROTC unit, has been selected as a Naval Honor School. In accordance with the reference. This designation is bestowed upon our ROTC unit for the 21-22 school year. They are to be congratulated for attaining this distinction, and it is through superior efforts of this unit, such as ours, that the ROTC program's goals are being achieved. The Marine Corps is proud of our achievements, or your achievements, I should say, and we wish to continue success in all future ROTC program efforts. We are so proud of you. I think no one in this community could say that this program is not something to be so proud of in so many ways.
Yeah, so it is my honor on behalf of the school committee to present this citation from the Lynn School Committee that hereby extends with great pride and appreciation our most sincere congratulations to the Lynn English High School Marine Corps Reserve Officers Training Corps in recognition of being selected as a Naval Honor School from the United States Marine Corps for the school year 2021-2022. And myself and my colleagues on the school committee are truly honored to recognize your outstanding accomplishment and respectfully offer our warmest encouragement and best wishes for continued success in all of your endeavors, and we have this certificate that's signed by each one of us that we're really thrilled and honored to present to you this evening. Congratulations. Do you want to turn around and do a picture and everything?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's do that. Let's all get together. Yeah.
You come out?
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
Let's go then. On the second one.
Great. So we are just so proud and excited to be able to present the certificate, and we extend our deepest, sincerest congratulations. Yeah, congratulations.
I can get one for it.
Yeah, please.
I want to take the glory. This is their glory.
Awesome.
Good couple of years.
Congratulations. Good way to
A little bit, huh? It's the winter time. You know what I've been saying? Inflation. This is a bind by the button. So.
We're just so lucky in the city, Lynn, to have such a storied program. We really appreciate all their efforts, ever present in the community. We're very grateful, so thank you. So I think we can take a motion to adjourn.
So
A motion to adjourn.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
No, this is the same copy of the superintendent's report. Oh, they just gave me twice, two of them.
But at 6 o'clock, you only have 7 minutes.
Got 7 minutes.
He's here.
Gary, catching up.
Yeah, I know. I'm still not used to it.
Catching up. Winter time, it's cold, you know?
No gray, though. That makes me look older.
Not yet.
He's a kid. He's a
Not
kid.
yet. I'm like, not yet.
Yeah.
Not yet.
That's my wife's comment.
All of a
I
sudden, you look gonna pop
was
up.
gonna say, I have the same here, I just don't.
So, 2 State Street is a building the city took last April for the purposes of partially purposes of relocating the Welcome Center from 100 Bennett Street to 2 State Street. We've been working through a feasibility study since midsummer, and we have arrived through the cooperation of school department staff and their review and approval of a floor plan that they feel works for their operations on the first floor of State Street, which you have in front of you. It's about 3,200 square feet. It utilizes at this time just the first floor. We've arrived at the final floor plan, so next steps will be to complete the feasibility study using this floor plan, the recommendations, the code review, and a rough cost estimate of what it will take. The step after that, and that will take probably another week or 2 before the final report comes out, which will be forwarded to you when it's done. Then we'll be moving into construction drawings, which will take approximately 2 months. During that time, the materials, the layout, electrical, plumbing, whatever needs that will be incorporated into the construction will be defined, and then we will go out in mid-March to get bids, and we expect to start construction on April 1st. It's approximately 2 months of construction, so the facility should be ready by June 1st for the Welcome Center. That is a perfect schedule laid out. I've talked with the architects and engineers. They believe we can keep to that schedule. We're not ordering any specialty equipment, HVAC or anything that has long lead times. This is mostly paint, paper, move some walls, install some doors. So it's pretty straightforward to fit out. The air conditioning, the heating, everything in that building is suitable for this use and does not need to be modified. We may have to move some small ductwork if we're putting an office here or there to accommodate those spaces, but nothing of a major nature. So this is our schedule. We hope that we can get through construction drawings a little quicker, but talking with the architect this morning, she was holding to the 2 months for her time frame, so that she didn't want to give that up, obviously. But if we can push her a little faster, it'll bring it back from June. But I don't see any significant increases. That time would be better able to be absorbed in case anything happens during construction, a delay in something arriving. The layout shown here does not significantly modify the building. Stairwells, elevator, everything remains in the same spot. We're taking down some walls. We're reusing existing spaces. It'll essentially be the same building you see from the outside. The outside will be changed so that it's a bank now with a lot of see-through glass. That'll be changed so that you can't see inside. There'll still be, clear windows at the top, but the bottom will be either through film or some architectural material made so that it's private to suit the needs of the center. So I would hope to be able to give you a better update on cost and construction schedule probably about mid-February. Would be in a spot where we've nailed things down, we have some preliminary pricing, and a better schedule. So I'm available if anybody has any questions or comments that you would like to direct to me.
Member Castellanos?
Thank you so much for bringing this up tonight, Member Gately, and thank you, Mr. Donovan, for sharing your insight on this project. For parking, I know, so if it's private, what's the estimated parking range right now? Is it gonna be like sticker parking, or is it public? How's that?
There are 8 spaces reserved for the tenants on the second floor, and the balance of the spaces are available for the Welcoming Center use. There's plenty of on-street parking. There's a large lot across the street that's not used as much as you would think it would be used. And in that area, there's never been an issue with parking during the daytime. There's meters, so when people come, it's on the bus line, so people come here to visit. Parking should not be an issue.
I can probably add a little bit to that. Mr. McHugh and I have been working with the owners of that lot, mostly Mr. McHugh, to try and lease some parking there, not only to help support the Welcome Center, but also the Market Street Eastern Bank site. So we're still in the process of doing that. So our vehicles would have like a rearview mirror tag that would identify them as appropriate to park there.
Member Capola?
How many parking spaces are there on that lot, do you think, Mike?
I want to say around, say, 18 or 20 spaces. So that'd be about 10,
10.
aside from the 8 that are reserved for the unit above, the tenants above, and there's a couple handicap spots in addition.
And is there still plans for somebody to go into the basement?
We are still in the process of doing the feasibility study for the fire department for the call takers. Yes. And I believe they have approximately 4 to 5 people on staff at any given time there.
Okay. And how much staff is in the welcoming center?
What was the number? I want to say it's approximately 30, right, between the Welcome Center and the MLE staff? I think it's about, I would have to verify that for you, but I think it's somewhere around 30.
Okay, that it doesn't leave us much. 30. Okay, I guess I'm under the understanding this is the welcoming center. So how many in the welcoming center?
There's 11 in the Welcome Center. And about 6 or 7 in the MLE. So I'm actually, that 30 is too many. So it's more like 20, a little over 20.
Okay, what part of the MLE is going in there?
The testing.
How many does that entail?
There's a family coordinator that goes in there. There's 2, I believe, testing, 2 women who actually do the testing with students. There's like a coordinator of the testing data. You can see in the MLE staff office, there are 4 desks there. And then there's one where it says the Office for Language Assessment Manager. That's the person who coordinates all of the appointments, meets with parents, and then you have people who monitor the testing.
Now that says
So they have
testing
5
has 10
people.
seats for testing?
Yes, because they test a great deal of students. When we are so the testing is part of the registration process. When a student comes in to register for school, if they identify that they speak a second language, language testing needs to be done to determine whether or not they are identified as an L or whether they're not. And so they could have upwards to over 80 testing appointments in a day when we're at the peak of our registration process.
Okay, so, but on days like today, how many would be tested?
It depends on how many new, it's not as much as like in March or August,
Yeah.
but there's still a flow of students that come in. You think January, we usually peak in January with high school students who come, new 9th graders that come, that all have to be tested. And then the kindergarten registration starts shortly after that. So there are more times during the year that there's testing going on than not.
Okay, and when they're not testing, are they out in the field, or what are they?
So there's always testing going on, and if there's no appointment for a particular day, then they're doing data, they're working on data, they're working on supporting schools in the elevation data, they're doing a lot of data analysis, supporting schools in that data and understanding it and knowing what services they need.
Okay, I did get a tour of it, so I know what it looks like down there. But to me, it looks tight.
We actually, Mrs. Powers and I actually were down in this room. Yvette had mapped out exactly what it would look like. She measured, from the plans, measured it, did tape to show the curve, had these tables used to map out. And that's actually when a change happened, because where the two offices are, behind the Office of Language Assessment Manager, it says office, it's two private offices. That originally was the conference room, and where the conference room is now was a storage area. It's actually where the safe is, but it's a good-sized safe. We made a decision with Yvette to make that conference room into two private offices because she was concerned that the two cubicles that were part of the open space, it was too cramped. And so we made a decision to change out the conference room into two offices because those particular positions do a lot of meetings with parents that are like confidential or private conversations that are needed, and then make the storage a conference room, but also storage, like that there would be cabinets put in there for storage for materials.
And just,
Which then freed up space, just so you know. It did free up space. And we could see that there was room to move around. There was room in between the tables, especially when that decision was made.
okay, only because I've been down near the Welcoming Center, and they usually come in families. It's not like,
Correct.
you're just talking, just a parent shows up and, one child shows up. It's a family of people on most, so, just making sure that there's enough room in between all of it for privacy, because parents aren't going to open up and talk about things.
Yeah, we talked about,
we're all,
privacy
sitting on top of
walls
each other.
between the desks that are in the open space, that we're going to make sure when furniture is ordered for this, that there are privacy walls so that families aren't feeling like they're just out in the open and that they do have a quiet space.
If I could address that too. So there's 32 seats in here for people coming from outside, and there are 17 seats for employees, desks and workstations and testing centers laid out. So even though you see what you see, when you lay it out and move around, it will accommodate a large number of people, 32 visitors and 17 employees.
Member Magnolia?
Thank you. I have a really quick question about where signage on the exterior of the building is going to go. And the reason I'm asking this question is, I didn't grow up in Lynn, right? The first time I tried to find this building, that sign is so tiny, you can't really read it from the street. And when I went to go register my daughter for first grade, I drove by this building about 4 times. So I am hoping that whatever the plan is for signage does not assume that everyone knows it's the old bank building, because those kinds of assumptions, I think, do an injustice to the folks who are coming in terms of it truly feeling like a welcoming center. So I was just wondering how and where, given the unique shape of this building, there is a plan for signage, especially as the Eastern Bank building, which is kitty corner, is going to house programs, and the sign for Eastern Bank is quite large on that building. I would like to see a little bit of mirroring kind of across the corner from one another.
Yes, we haven't gotten that far with signage. Signage will be one of the later details, but yes, I agree. I mean, this building, while it serves as an adequate administration building, is located in an industrial area of town. It's very hard to find, even if you've been a resident here. This building is in the heart of downtown. Given the location on the corner of Market Street and State Street, the opportunities for signage are very good, and it will come down to is how the school department wishes to express itself at this location. Given the building, the glass on the front, you could do artistic work across the front that says welcome. I mean, you could just do a staid sign out front. I mean, the possibilities are wide open as to how you want to attract people here, and that would be totally up to the school department as how they want to present this building to the public.
Thank you very much. I would also just like to urge LPS staff to think about putting signs up early in the process. That actually helps people identify the use of that space. So rather than having the signs go up at the end, once construction is complete, if you put up signs as construction commences, that helps people understand what the building is being renovated for. So just a suggestion.
Sorry, Miss Gately. You're next. I apologize. I was thinking you passed it me for the next.
Oh, no, you have to bring it back down, too.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I have some questions. How many MLEs are in the center right now?
In this center?
Yeah, working right now.
Oh, there's a bunch. You've got the executive director, you've got the two assistant
The
directors.
With a third to be hired.
With a third to be hired. There are 2 or 3 testing staff.
Yep.
The
Coach.
language assessment manager, and then there are coaches who are,
Are you sure? Because I've talked to the person in the Welcoming Center, and right now there's 2, because I just was in the building, and I dropped by, and she said there was 2. And what qualifications do testers have? Do they have like the bachelor's degree, the ELD? I don't quite understand what qualifications testers have. And the point that I'm making is that in June, we had this vision. And the vision was that it was going to be a welcoming place for families where privacy and space were going to be given each appointment. There was going to be a food pantry and space to have a health site in collaboration with Lynn Community Health Center. And I don't know where that vision went. So that's why I'm asking about the testers, because I'm under the understanding there's only 2 right now in the center, that more come in as needed. But I'm just wondering about the vision. You know, it's supposed to be a welcoming center.
but part of the registration process is the testing. We have 6,500 Ls in this district, and it goes up every day. That testing is part of the registration process. It would not be family-friendly to have them go to the Welcome Center to register and then say, okay, now you need to go to Bennett Street to be tested and get another appointment, when all of it could be done in the same space.
Well, why couldn't it be that they have the appointment and the tester, this person is coming in, they're going to be tested, you call the tester and you say, come on down to the Welcoming Center.
But again, there's many days that it's upward of 80 appointments in a day. Like, it needs to be an established function in that space. It is part of the registration process.
I'm a little disappointed that this vision is gone. So, thank you. Wish we could do something to include a food pantry and the health site like we planned when we first initially discussed this in June. Maybe we can work on that.
Yeah, so just, from the original vision, I think, just also to school committee member Magnolia's point, I mean, part of the thought process of the location of this site was its prominent location in the downtown and the ability to be welcoming and, in stark contrast, I think, to what we all acknowledge is the space here. I think the Lynn Community Health Center, I don't believe was ever planned to be here. This is a city space. And, they certainly have space needs, and we've been great partners with them in trying to support that. You probably you may be aware that the city just made a $3 million grant to the Lynn Community Health Center through the federal ARPA process to support the development of their spaces in the city. And so, we'll continue to do that and collaborate with them. And, for the food pantry, that wasn't in the original sort of conversation about the taking. We did just open today in the city the Phoenix Food Hub, which is a one-stop food shop aiming to address, clinical social determinants of health. It has a beautiful teaching kitchen and a food pantry that's run by Catholic Charities. That is, I think going to be a real...
Where is that located?
That is on Silsby Street. Yeah. So, in the Greater Lynn Senior Services building, in the first floor.
Yeah, that's right. Make a motion to adjourn, or make a motion to accept? What's the wish of the committee?
Second that? To accept?
To accept?
Roll call. Member Gately?
I'm going to say no for now. I want to make sure we're getting this right.
Member Castellanos?
Yes.
Member Capola?
I hate to have you come back, but no.
A motion to adjourn? Oh, Member Capola.
My concern is, it was supposed to be the welcoming center, and I think we're putting way too many a whole nother department in there. And I don't think it's meant to be on that huge amount. And I don't know what the answer is to how many kids are tested. And yes, I understand there's probably, like you say, 60 a day during crazy times, but on a whole it isn't. And I just don't see how we have all of that whole other department ended up in there.
It's 6 people. It's 6 people.
You're still in the building grants, so Lorraine has the, yeah.
Ms. Cassiano.
And can I just some clarification? The no vote is going to pause the project? Is that?
So I am not aware that the no vote is going to pause the project. I mean, I think this is an operational decision, so,
Make sure.
We'll consult with the attorney, but I'm not aware that that's going to be something that affects the trajectory of this. I just want to say, since it's been brought up, that I'm really troubled by what I see as the undermining of the multilingual learner department. The questioning of their existence in this district by asking if they deserve to have their own dedicated space, I think is starting from the premise of seeing the multilingual learners as undeserving of the district's support. And I find it really troubling, and I hope that we can address that going forward.
Brian, can you take the mic, because I have a rebuttal.
Right.
Ms. Gately?
I am not in any way, shape, or form doing what you just accused me of doing. What I'm doing is trying to open it up to be a welcoming center for all. that I was under the understanding that we were having this whole welcoming center to begin with. And if you talk to people in the welcoming center, Mr. Mayor, you may find out that it's not just me that feel this way. So I'm not trying to undermine anything, and I want this to move forward, but I want it to move forward so that the needs are actually met for our students that are coming into this district. Member Capola?
I'm sorry if it appears that way, but that isn't it. Well, the welcoming center. And we hear all the time from every school, teachers over and over, we need support staff here with us and within the buildings. And I know that there are times, we've had normally two testers that have been part of the welcoming center, and I know there are more of them. My concern is it is a small space. I mean, when it's all built out and all the stuff is in there, maybe we'll all look back at today and say, packing everything in there is just not the right thing. I don't want us to go forward and say we're putting the whole welcoming center in, and that we're putting the whole MLE staff in there also, and we have overcrowded it, and we have people, standing, not enough seats. And where are they going to do? I mean, during COVID, we had them sitting outside on chairs outside and things like that in lousy weather. I don't want to see a line down around the building. I want it to actually be the welcoming center, so when there is a crowd down there, that there is room for all those people that are going to come there. I don't want them to have to sit on curbstones out on Market Street. And I just don't think that there's 12 seats here, that is a waiting area. To me, that's just not enough. We know how many come in here and sit in here. And the testing is necessary. And when kindergarten kids come in, they have testing. It's necessary for them too. I'm just saying, I think we're packing too much into one small building. Wish the building was like twice the size, but it's not. That's what we bought, and that's what's there.
Yeah, and I think you may recall that the school department had put out a request for proposals to find a welcome center, wasn't able to find any space, and there is not much space in the city, and so we worked. You recall last year with the council to acquire this property, and we believe and continue to believe that was the best option that we had, and I am not an architect, so. We hired an architect to take us through this process that's worked closely with the staff of the Welcome Center, including its director, and certainly anytime you do any kind of project, we all have to work within the bounds of the expense and the space and the time, and I think my understanding is that the current status of the plans are one that the various departments are on board with. And, the other thing, too, is that in the meantime, we all acknowledge that this current space does not meet our standards for a welcoming center. And so we want to move as quickly as possible to bring in this space to life. And I think that's what we're doing.
And going forward with the whole plan, to set it all up, that's fine. Maybe we can have just another bit of discussion.
I think Mr. Donovan.
As to this.
Yeah, I think Mr. Donovan said we would be back in February to present the costs and the next level of plans. So I think we can proceed with that.
Okay.
I had a question, just the operation protocols for the welcoming center, it's just not a walk-in basis, correct? Is it?
It's appointments.
Appointment schedule, so And you said the capacity there for staff would be 32, something like that?
17 staff, 10 seats are in the waiting area, but then 12 seats in the waiting area, and 20 stations where people can already be sitting with staff members being processed or doing what they do when they welcome them in.
37 would be the capacity,
30
17 staff?
17 staff and 32 visitors.
Okay, so, okay.
Member
Motion to
Dugan?
adjourn.
No, Member Dugan?
That's all right. I guess somewhere along the line, I got a little, so this no vote we just did, what are we shooting down? I'm not part of the subcommittee, but I'm a little, obviously, it's not shooting down the project, which Mr. Donovan obviously has put a lot of time and effort into, but so what exactly did we just say no to? Or what was just said no to?
We just said no to the ideas of, we'd like to sit down and talk some more about what is going to go into the Welcome Center.
So it's the staffing and just kind of the day-to-day things that happen there?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
And just to be clear, my understanding from the exchange I just had with Member Capola is that we're going to come back in February and we're going to present a budget and a plan, which was what Mr. Donovan had said.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any problem with this in particular.
Right.
I think the only problem we have is how much people we're packing in there.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the availability of space in the Lynn Public Schools is our biggest issue and has been for years. For years. And we are taking concrete steps to do something about this. The classrooms are overcrowded. The administration, we're growing. You know, thank goodness we are, because we have the needs. But that's going to create these necessities for us to find additional space, and so we're doing that. This is all a work in progress. You know, we're figuring out what's going to happen at 2 State Street. We're figuring out what's going to happen at Market Street. We're figuring out what's happening at Friend Street. There's other real estate assets around the city that we're thinking about and looking at, and we're going to continue to work with the school department and the various city departments to find the optimal mix that's in the best interest of our students and ultimately our residents. So, you know, I think Mr. Donovan mentioned that there's the architects have more work to do to sort of finalize the plans with respect to costs and some of those specifics. And of course, we fully intend to keep the school committee included in that. And so I think, you know, we can continue to do that.
Member Capola?
Motion to adjourn?
No, I'd like to make a motion.
Sorry.
You have the gavel, so.
Ms. Gately?
So upon hearing our discussion, I would like to change my motion to accept the presentation of plans for the Welcome Center at 2 State Street by Mr. Donovan, and he'll come back in December, and we'll talk more about the plans.
Is that a motion to rescind then?
Yes, motion to rescind.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Member Gately?
Yes.
Member Castellanos?
Yes.
Member Capola?
Yes. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Member
Second,
Gately?
please.
Yes.
Member Castellanos?
Yes.
Member Capola?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
to approve, okay? So if you look at the one that has the comments on it,
That's yours.
yeah, looks like this, has the comments on the
comment.
side. So the top part where it says about LPS and the LPS vision and core values, that is a standard section that we now put on all of our postings. I did add to that we have one early college high school that was a piece that was not put in and needed to be added, so I added that. And then if you go down to the qualifications, in the old version, it had bachelor's degree as number one, and then number two was master's degree. Well, you can't get a master's degree without a bachelor's degree, so there's no need to have bachelor's degree there. So I kept it just master's degree. The SEI endorsement is a requirement of all of our staff, so that needed to be there. The licensure needs to be there. The minimum of 3 years of experience as a public school administrator, that is what we should be looking for, no less than that. I did make an adjustment to the successful teaching experience. We originally had it 3 years, or 5 years, sorry. But the first 3 years, they're considered non-professional staff, and then they get professional status on the first day of their fourth year. I'm recommending that we say a minimum of 6 years of experience teaching, because then you can say, okay, they had 3 years of non-professional status experience and then 2 years of professional status experience. So that's a recommendation that I'd like to make. And then if you go to the last bullet in this section, I'm recommending removing that bottom bullet because there already is a bullet that speaks to the budget process. Where it says proven ability in budget preparation and line item expenditure process. It's the second bullet on that second page. That already addresses budget, so that last bullet is not needed. So I'm asking to remove that. The performance responsibilities in both postings were the same. I did not see any differences. And then in the terms and conditions of employment, it's the first bullet said this is a 12-month position, and then it added and may require up to 10 additional days. If it's a 12-month position, I'm not sure how you're adding 10 additional days, so I'm recommending to take that section out. It's a 12-month position.
agree.
And then everything else was the same and accurate. So those are my recommendations for the posting for elementary principal. What I would like to recommend as terms of the process is that we would post with what you approve for a posting, we would post the position of elementary principal, but clearly identifying the 5 schools that are being hired for. Asking applicants to identify in their cover letter which schools do they want to be considered for, and that then we would create a committee that has representation from all 5 schools, a teacher and a parent from all 5 schools. And so it's going to be a good-sized committee, but I feel like it should be. As applicants come in, candidates come in, I would inform the panel which schools this candidate is applying for, and those representatives will be the ones who would ask questions or be part of asking questions, whereas the other representatives of schools, if someone's not applying for Tracy, then the representatives from Tracy wouldn't apply, wouldn't ask questions. Only the representatives of the schools that this person is applying for. So I'm open to any questions or...
Yes, Dr. Molia.
So just out of curiosity, where in the posting would it say that a candidate was applying for a specific school?
It would be in the Talent Ed website. When they go into the
Okay.
position, there's typically some narrative.
Yep.
It would be in that.
Okay. One thing that might be useful, even though this is like a boilerplate for all elementary principalships, is if there was maybe a changeable section that had, so we've got about LPS that says about the school. Because our elementary schools in Lynn vary so much that just a sentence or two, this is the largest elementary school in Lynn, this is the smallest elementary school in Lynn. Because I think that specification, especially if we have anyone who is, say, maybe they're coming from Peabody and they know Lynn Public Schools, but they don't know that level of specificity, I think that would dovetail really nicely with the overview that you just gave from the website.
I'm thinking that where on Talent Ed, where it talks about the schools that are available, that with each school, it would have what the base pay is for that school, because they are different size schools, and then a brief description of that school in a list in that narrative.
Okay.
So that they would be able to see it. Because when they're applying, they need to decide which schools am I interested in applying for, and then they can cite that in their cover letter.
And could a candidate apply for multiple schools? Okay.
Yes, which is why, by the way, I want to do one committee.
Yeah.
Because to put an applicant through a multiple interview process, I feel like it's too much. I would much rather allow a candidate to come in, know what they're applying for, have representation from those schools, and let them interview for those schools that they're interested in, and then we can make a decision from there, what's the best fit.
And then the last point I wanted to add, you've got the early college high school in there. I think that the dual language programs should be added because they're in elementary schools.
Okay.
I don't know if either of them is up for one of the principal jobs.
One
but,
of them.
But yeah, I think it's important because these are, like, Lynn is leading with these types of programs. And I want to put that out there. So it would just be another, right, one early college, high school, 2 dual language elementary school programs.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm done now.
Yes, Ms. Gately?
So under qualifications, license as principal pre-K to 8. Is that the elementary license now?
Yes, it is.
So what's secondary?
Secondary is 6 to 12. There is an overlap. Like, I hold both licenses, and there is an overlap.
Okay. All right. And they can apply for more than one?
Yes. Yep. They would identify that in their cover letter, that, I am interested in applying for, and then they can state which schools they are interested in.
Are there any other questions? Do we have a motion?
I'd like to move this job description for elementary principals forward with changes as recommended.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Member Capola?
Yes.
Member Gately?
Yes.
Member Magnolia?
Yes.
Okay. The next thing on our agenda is the Director of Data Implementation job description.
Yes, this is a position that has been in existence in the LSAA contract for many years. It has not been a position that's been filled for many years. And so when last budget season, when it was recommended to add a position because the department is woefully understaffed, as we know from hearing all the Power School problems, and so when I did my research around the posting for that position, it was so long ago that the posting was so old and antiquated, we couldn't use it. And so I did some reaching out to other districts for positions that are similar. I reached out to LSAA to have them send me, recommendations around what they would want in this posting. I put together a draft, had LSAA take a look at it. They brought it to their executive board. They are in agreement with this. And so it's really just for me to share with you that this is the most updated version of a position that we have always had in our LSAA union.
Are there any questions? The only one I have is which department is it in?
It's in the data center.
Okay.
And this would be the lead person who would be responsible for supervising the department as a whole, as well as responsible for all state and federal data that needs to be submitted.
Ms. Gately?
Who's in the position now?
There is no one in the position
But
now.
who's enacting? Somebody
There
has
is
to
no
be-
one in an act. This position does not exist in the data center right now. Mara Shera's position is the highest position in that office. And so she currently submits the state and the state data that we have to submit to the Department of Education. But what's happening is there's not enough staff to manage all of the data, the student information and staff information data that has to be organized and maintained. And we really need another person in that department.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Magnolia?
Oh, if Lenny has a question, he should go first.
Yes.
I have a question. Who's doing our reporting to DESE right now?
Mara Shera,
Mara's doing, okay.
yeah, her position.
Yes.
I'd like to move this position forward as written.
Is there a second?
Second,
Roll
Member
call,
Capola?
please. Yes.
Member Gately?
yes.
Member Magnolia?
Yes.
Motion to adjourn?
Second,
Roll call, please.
Member Capola?
Yes.
Member Gately?
yes.
Member Magnolia?
Yes.
Thank you.
Just grab that.
Oh, it's ready.
Do you mind if we do?
I think I'm gonna go.
Should we start over? Yeah, of course, of course.
Good questions on your,
I just feel like no one's
you
gonna.
had some good ones in there.
I don't think anyone. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. Howard, how are you? Fine.
Listen, we weren't even supposed to.
I think you just said yes.
Say it again?
That was weird. I know.
You said nice things.
Don, you had a lot of good questions, too. A lot of good questions.
I'm not that person describing.
My frustrating questions when
just
I felt
pointed
like I
out what-
didn't get
how-
answered.
right, sorry.
I'm on like the second, the second version. of-
I know. I know. I was. Dr. Magnolia's tough, but
Next time.
picks and chooses
Next
when
time.
she wants to roll out.
I'd like to call to order the 19th regular meeting of the school committee. Roll call, please.
Member Castellanos?
Present.
Member Capola?
Present.
Member Dugan?
Present.
Member Gately?
Present.
Member Magnolia?
Present?
Member Pena?
Present.
Mayor Nicholson?
Present. All please rise for a salute to the flag and remain standing for a moment of silence.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence in memory of Wayne W. Hathaway, Sr., retired painter glazer, August 14th, 2022. C. Joan McManus, retired clerk, November 11th, 2022. And Gail M. Barrows, retired lunch aide, November 16th, 2022. Thank you. Superintendent.
Sure. Before we get started, I want to introduce our student representative from Classical High School. This is Leilani F. Welcome. We're happy to have you here. You're a student voice in this process. So we're very welcome to have you here.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Next item, the minutes.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes for the policy subcommittee meeting on November 10th, 2022, the 7th regular meeting on November 10th, 2022, and the policy subcommittee meeting on November 17th, 2022.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Member Castellanos?
Yes.
Member Capola?
Yes.
Member Dugan?
Yes.
Member Gately?
Yes.
Member Magnolia?
Yes.
Member Pena?
Yes.
Mayor Nicholson?
Yes. Next item is the Leap for Education expansion to English High School.
We have Linda Saris here to present this wonderful program. This program, we have the Dream More program at Marshall Middle School, and it was the students who actually encouraged us to expand into the high school, and so they are here to share with us what that will look like.
Thank you very much for inviting us and allowing us on this very, very busy agenda, so we will try and keep it short. We sent out a full deck. We are not going to go through every one of the slides, so don't panic. We will be skipping through some slides, but happy to answer any questions as we go along. I'm the executive director and founder of LEAP. We're in our 20th anniversary year. Have been in Salem for 20 years, Peabody for 10 years now. And with me is Kayla Dorst, who's our deputy director, who started with us as a freshman at Salem State and is still with us, has been with LEAP for over 10 years now. So I'm going to do the first part of the presentation, a brief overview of LEAP for those who aren't as familiar with it, and then she's going to do the important stuff around the programming. So with that, so I don't have to explain to you how important a college and post-secondary degree is in the Massachusetts economy. Most jobs do require some sort of degree in order to earn family-sustaining wages, and that's what we're all about. LEAP is an acronym that stands for Learn, Explore, Aspire, and Pursue. And all of our programs are built, this is very difficult, I have to talk this way, but look this way, are built with academic components, social emotional, education and career, readiness and planning, and the development and acquisition of social capital. So we build all of these components into all of our programs from middle school all the way through post-secondary graduation. The best way for me to explain our programs is through an actual student story. So let me introduce you to Kelly Santana King. Kelly came to LEAP in 8th grade as a middle schooler from the Dominican Republic. She did not speak any English. As she progressed into 10th grade, we introduced her to a lot of STEM programming because she had a high aptitude in math and science and was very interested in those subjects. Somewhere, I think it was junior year, she moved from Salem to Lynn, and that's when I first met Molly. We enrolled her at Lynn English, and her guidance counselor was Molly Cohen, who knew at that time that I'd be working with her many years later. She graduated from Lynn English and went on to Salem State. She had documentation issues, so could not apply for federal financial aid. So we negotiated on her behalf with Salem State to get her state tuition so that her parents could afford it. And she started there. 2 years into Salem State, her family got their documentation papers, and we helped her transfer to Northeastern because she was interested in engineering. Salem State does not have an engineering program. And she enrolled there with a full scholarship and her federal financial aid, which she was now eligible to apply for. She graduated Lynn English in 2012, Northeastern in 2017, and she then went to work for Raytheon, went back with tuition assistance from Raytheon to get her master's in computer science, just got promoted a few months ago to be a senior systems automation engineer at Raytheon. I think she's working on missile systems, and in her spare time, she volunteers at the Big Sister Association. So clearly, this is one story. It just helps to explain our programs. But our statistics across all of our students are that for college college enrollment, we were at 97% last year, compared to a statewide average of 43%, and this is for the low-income demographic group. As far as college graduation, this is a cumulative number since our first students started graduating college around 10 years ago, and those numbers are 64% compared to 23% statewide, so almost 3 times the state average. But when you look at a subgroup of students who actually stay with LEAP through our one of the unique things about our program is we provide college advising all the way through post-secondary, and for those who opt into that program, we have an 89% graduation rate. Just quickly by the numbers, LEAP served last year about 550 students. As you can see, most of the students are low-income, first-gen, students of color, and about a third of the students are English or former English language learners. Looking just at our Lynn population, we opened our middle school program at Marshall Middle School called Dream More. That opened in 2020, and as you can see, almost 99% economically disadvantaged. You can read the stats there. Over 90% students of color, first gen, and 2/3 of the students, English language learners or former English language learners. And with that, I am turning it over to Kayla.
So, first of all, thank you again for having us. I'm not going to go into the detail on these next 2 slides. You can read them. It just gives you some more about our middle school program. But what I'm here to tell you about is why a teen center. So the major focus of our presentation is this growth. And as Linda mentioned, we've built a very strong relationship with the Lynn School District over the last few years, and we're really excited for the next step. And so this slide gives a visual of the breadth of services that LEAP provides. And so that first bar right there is our Salem programming, and then that second bar at the bottom is our Lynn pathway. So with Dream More in place at Marshall Middle School, we now have about 40 Dream More graduates who are at Lynn English, and they asked us, like, what's the next step? We know you have a teen center in Salem, so where's the teen center in Lynn? And we said, well, let's work on that. And so we always approach growth intentionally. So we did a needs analysis last spring at Lynn English. We surveyed almost 800 students, 50 faculty, and 40 parents, and the need for a teen center was very clear, and the feedback that we received there helped guide our planning process. And so that planning process started in September, and we have been meeting every other week. We have a great committee of Lynn English staff. We have some students on there.
Including Gary.
Including Gary, yes. Gary is one of those planning members. And so over the last several months, we put together this plan, which I'm going to overview with you this evening. We presented at a public forum on Monday, and we're excited to launch at the end of January. So just real briefly, a teen center is kind of an amorphous idea, so I just wanted to tell you what we mean when we say that. And so our teen center is a free, comprehensive set of programs. The success model that Linda talked about at the beginning is embedded in all the activities that we offer. For teenagers, we know it's really important to be flexible, so we offer structured programs that have weekly commitments, but it's also a drop-in model, so students can come to us when they need us and get the support in the different areas. We have 3 primary goals, which are outlined there at the bottom. We want students to be able to explore their interests, get to know their community, and grow and improve, and that includes setting a plan for their post-secondary and career pathway after high school, and we stay with them all along the way. So again, I won't read this whole slide to you. These are our key objectives for the Teen Center. I will highlight that one of our priorities is the inclusion of multilingual learners. That was a big piece of feedback that came out of the stakeholder survey, and that is a population that we already work very closely with in Salem. We offer specialized project-based learning that help them practice their oral skills, which is something that they don't tend to get to do as much during the school day, and then get to know the new communities that they're coming into. Youth Voice is also a major part of our programs. We like the students to dictate the programming we run, not just like our great ideas for them. And it's that last point is another thing I want to call out, which is that we really know that there's a lot of great programs here in Lynn that serve students, and we want to complement those services as opposed to duplicate them. And then on the right there are our targeted outcomes. So we're looking for on-time grade advancement for our students, on-time high school graduation, and post-secondary education enrollment of some sort. A lot of our students do go to college, and it's very important to us that they know that if that's the path they want to go on, they can. But we are also very open to supporting students through other less traditional pathways, whether it be a trade, a certificate program, 2-year college. We're very open. And the final outcome that we look for is completion of an education and career plan, and that's just a synthesis of what a student does with us throughout the year so that they can just communicate where they're at in their thinking. Again, won't read this out loud to you, but those programming priorities on the left were the highest rated on the needs analysis that we did last spring. And on the right is just a sample daily schedule of what happens in the Teen Center. So again, it's a mix of free time and structured programming so that students can come in and get what they need when they need it. So our timeline, we've been in this planning phase and we're getting really, really close to launch, and we're really excited about that. So we're going to run our pilot phase at the end of January through the end of the school year. We're targeting 30 unique students who are attending really consistently, but we anticipate seeing more than that. In the summer, we do run a paid work program that we've, for the first time, had Lynn students participate in last year. We had 40 of them, and it was a great opportunity, so we're excited to do that again this year with slightly larger population. And then next September, we'll launch our first full school year, and our target is going to be about 50 students per year. So just to recap, our overview is that we're excited to open these new programs and expand the existing programs we have, grow our numbers in students over the next several years, and build relationships in the community that help contribute to the post-secondary and career success of our students. Any questions?
Did we do that in 15
Member, yeah.
That was very good.
Excellent, thank you. Thank you so much. Member Dugan, yep.
Thank you. That was a very impressive presentation, very quick, timely, thank you. One question I have, so if in September 23, say more than 50 students decide they want to apply, or how would that?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Open it to more, or?
So the model is we try to have as few barriers as possible, so students don't have to register before they come to the program. It's a drop-in model, so we wouldn't cap registration at 50 per se. Like if on a given day we just run out of space capacity, then we'd have to prioritize from there. But hopefully we can just find more space. And
okay,
yeah.
Great, thank you, and thank you for the presentation.
Member Capola, and then Member Gately.
Okay, I know that I heard from some parents who went there whose children are on ed plans, and they were hoping to be included in this kind of program. But I think their understanding was that they heard from somebody that their children wouldn't be a fit for that program. But how would we, is there any way the kids who are in particular at English High School in the Life Skills program could be included in this program?
Yeah, no, thank you for bringing that up. I was at the table speaking to those students. Brian was there as well as Superintendent Ruggiero was there. And so what we told the parents is we're an inclusive program, but the program is not a good fit for every student. And I don't care if they're on an IEP. In fact, at Marshall Middle School, over 20% of our students in that program are on IEPs or 504 plans. what we said was that the parents should come with their child, get a sense of what the program's like, because it is drop-in, it's not structured, and if they think it's a program that their child can thrive in, they're more than welcome to come. And that's what we said. And we said the only thing we really don't have the staff capacity to handle is any student that needs a one-on-one, one-on-one para with them through the entire time, because we just don't have the staff capacity to do that.
And I'll just tag on to that. That's a perfect segue. I did say that should they feel that their child would be able to manage in this program, and we needed a one-on-one para to be with that person, we would absolutely consider funding that para to allow it to happen.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Member Gately, and then Member Castellanos and Member Pena.
I was there also at that table.
Oh, that's right. Sorry.
And I really liked the way everybody handled the situation and allowed them to speak. Their voice being heard made a segue where, we could bring over pizza boxes and figure out how to help them to learn how to gain a skill of putting together the pizza boxes. And that's all the woman basically was asking, if we could find a program that could help them. And the very next day, I was very happy to hear from Superintendent Ruggiero that she reached out to the collaborative to see if there are other programs that we could find to help them. So it was wonderful. It was enlightening for all of us, I believe. But what I really liked about being there that night, we found out there is a space problem if there would be a lot of people. So we'll be looking to deal with that. I like the idea that if a student is playing basketball and they sign up in September for this drop-in program, that it's not going to be punitive. They can just take basketball season off and then come back in the spring or whatever. I also really like the support that you're going to be showing to our students as they get ready for college, like applying to colleges, the FAFSAs. I just loved everything about it, and I'm so glad that you invited me again, and thank you very much for all that you do for us students.
And thank you for being there, and sorry I left you out. You were way over there in the mask. And
No one sees me.
No, because she was really good in helping me navigate through the conversation, as did everybody else, so thank you.
Member Castellanos.
Thank you both for your presentation tonight. It's refreshing. It was actually very inspiring to be there at the forum to see the growth, strategic growth, I like to say, because you guys worked very hard. The staff at Dream More, really, I want to give a shout out to all the folks out there that really hit the ground in those programs, especially if folks are not aware, this program came about during the pandemic. And there were very hard pivots that needed to happen. There was a lot of adversity that our staff and folks at that program had to deal with, really at the forefront. So I want to say thank you and give a shout out to all the staff, and I think Principal Cohen was there as well. I gotta say thank you to you and everyone involved in that, because we wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for all of you guys' perseverance, and I say thank you. I want to highlight one of the core values. I think something that stuck out to me at the forum was the social capital piece. And how important that is. And I would like you to, would it be possible if you could just elaborate? I asked this question at the forum, and you did a great job. Maybe you could repeat that again.
Did I answer it, or did she answer it?
I think you both did, but I think that piece is crucial, especially as we talk about our middle school students who are transitioning to high school, and how important social capital is and what that is for our students that are involved in those programs. Because you did highlight the student piece early on. I didn't hear that in the last forum. So today, I loved what you did there. I will want to also give a shout out to Manny Cruz, who just was elected to state rep, and he's an alumni at Leap for Education. And I think it's important to maybe add that.
yeah, sometimes we have his but I liked Kelly because she graduated Lit English, so we so we switched it off. So social capital is really around the principle that it's not always what you know, it's who you know. And for a lot of our students, when they're competing with their wealthier, more socially connected peers, they just don't have those social connections that their peers do. And so for us, we always say our students are coming to us with a tremendous amount of talent and skill, and what they're lacking is really the opportunities. It's what we call the opportunity gap. And so what we try and bring to our students, most students come with some trusted adult in their life, usually a parent or a teacher or a coach or somebody in their life that, they're very close to. But we like to also say there's that other circle of connections that we all have through LinkedIn, through our parents, through our parents' friends, that aren't maybe people we're going to go out to dinner with or socialize on a weekend, but those are the people you can pick up and ask them, I'm looking for a job in such and such a field, do you know anybody? And so that's our role, is really to get the kids out in the community. When we do mock interview nights, when we do networking nights, we don't do it with our staff. We do it, you might get phone calls from us, can you come in and do a networking night? Because we want students to not only we want them to see professionals in the field. We want them comfortable speaking to a stranger, because that's what they're going to have to face when they go in for a job interview. We definitely want them to see people who look like them in professional role models, so they can learn from them and be connected to people who both look like them or don't look like them, and they are comfortable in both. So do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I gave the answer the other night, but she did a good job.
I thought she answered that one.
My final question, just a quick, in the Dream More program, I just want to highlight, we did have a 21st Century After School Program grant. We had grant funded. Could you just discuss how the expansion is going to be funded?
Sure.
Talk about that source.
Yeah. So just to clarify, the Lynn Public Schools applied and received a 21st Century grant of about $170,000. It's a 5-year grant. The program costs a little bit more than that, so we do supplement it by grants that we apply for. We've gotten grants from New England Biolabs for some STEM programming. We've gotten money from the state through the after-school, out-of-school time grant funds, and other. New York Life, I think, was a grant that we got for the Dream More program. The model will be we won't be applying for 21st Century for the high school program. So it's going to be, we've got some funding through the ESSER fund. Does that come through the school committee? Okay, so you've seen that. But again, that isn't going to pay for everything. So we just got a grant. Actually, I'm not supposed to talk about it, but we just got a grant. I can't tell you what it is yet. And we also will be using some funds that we've gotten through private foundation funding and individual donations. So we're kind of piecing it all together.
Thank you so much. Member Pena.
First, I want to say thank you for your presentation. Thank you. It hit me, touched me pretty personally. I'm a descendant from immigrants to the Dominican Republic, and I have many siblings and brothers and sisters who have a lot of great skill that the careers that they earned and they studied in the Dominican, but they couldn't practice in the United States. Lack of language and opportunities, and that sticks out to me, the way you work with it. And another thing I like, part of your proposed, for your center is improving English language skills, especially for multilingual. That is so important. I went to school in a time where it was tough to, and we went through a lot of adversity. I'm talking about the 70s and 80s, and we wasn't, inclusivity really wasn't there. We're starting, there's something new. You had a big flow of immigrants coming in, and I have so many friends that had a lot of skills, but they couldn't practice anything because of the lack of the language and like you say, not knowing people and times are turning and we have a big student population like that, and I appreciate that. You're acknowledging that, and one thing that I like best is like how you follow this. You keep following them and helping them with college, applications and financial aid and skill building too. That's another thing that points out that there's other reaching them and explore other avenues to other skills that there are available, and that really touched me. I'm touched by your work, and I apologize I couldn't make it to the last forum. I had other priorities, other meetings, but I'm really touched. And my son participated in your work program, so
That's awesome.
so you see, he liked a lot of things that's going on in Salem, and he got to be with other kids, and it was really awesome. Thank you for your appreciation.
Thank you for having
Thank you for your presentation.
I'll tell you, my favorite students are the multilingual students. When we first started this work, we had groups of students that came in that literally spoke no English as middle schoolers, and you look at them and you think, oh my God, in 6 years, are they going to be going to college? And then you see them go to college, and then in the old days when we only had a few students, I used to go to their college graduations, and it was like the most amazing experience to see them walking across the stage. And now they're all in careers. They're police officers, state reps, they work in banks, they're marketing people, artists. Miguel Cruz, who's Manny's brother, has done a lot of mural work here in Lynn, and it's just, I don't know, it's a work of passion for me.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for being here, for the wonderful presentation. This is a really exciting collaboration, and we're thrilled to see it come to fruition. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next on the agenda is the arc of professional learning for the 22-23 school year.
Yes, so if you recall, when I presented my goals and when I presented for the MCAS testing, the data results, I talked about the structures and systems that needed to be worked on and aligned across the district. We have our Executive Director of Curriculum, Glenda Colon, and her curriculum team, who have been working tirelessly this year on our arc of professional learning that hits on every level, from the district level, school leadership level, all the way down to the classroom level. And so I'm going to turn it over to the team to share with you what that work is and what it entails.
Thank you, and thank you for inviting us here. I'm very excited to share this work. The work that we are going to be talking about is the LPS Strategic Plan Focus. You all have a copy of that. It is a single-page document that has 3 colored sections. So we will be referring to that and talking about that document during this time. And I just want to highlight that we are very excited about the work that we've been doing, and that this is really a celebration that we are going to present today of the work of the LPS family, really, this year and over the summertime. So we're very excited. So the objectives and the goal for this meeting for today is for us to be able to make connections between the existing work and the LPS District Strategic Plan, which you are all familiar with. And then we're also going to describe how district-wide prioritized practices support the district strategic plan. Here is the plan for those of you who, were part of this process. So as you know, this particular plan was developed by many stakeholders a number of years ago. And so we wanted to make sure that the work that we were doing this year was really rooted in a strong foundation that was actually already familiar to many of our stakeholders in the community. I'm going to pass this over to Carrie so she can continue discussing the plan.
Thank you, Glenda. Okay, so given the difficult climate of the last few years and our population, the need to focus on our most marginalized students is more important than ever. With that in mind, it's vital that we know our students and we keep equity at the center of our work. As you see on the slide, 39.7% of our students are identified as ELs as of October 2022. That number was 20% in June 2017. 18.5% of our students are identified as students with disabilities as of October 2022. And 50.7% of our students are identified as L and/or a student with a disability in October of 2022. In an effort to acknowledge the amount of work teachers and students were experiencing in our post-pandemic world, principals and directors were asked to engage in an activity that inventoried the amount of initiatives that were happening or perceived to be happening throughout the district. Collectively, the principals and directors identified many different practices within our district across various categories. Considering the overwhelming nature of the last few years, it felt important to narrow our focus and move towards a collective vision. This vision resulted in the creation of the LPS Strategic Plan Focus for school year 22-23. I'll let Allison take it from there.
So as you can see on the document in front of you, the structure of the LPS Strategic Plan Focus for school year 22-23 includes 3 main focus areas. Focus Area 1, professional learning. Focus Area 2, data analysis. Focus Area 3, curriculum and instruction. These focus areas prioritize and strategically build a culture of continuous improvement. To start, we're so excited to share with you all of the professional opportunities happening in our district. As you know, we are engaged in our 3rd year of Hope and Healing with the Equity Institute. We have a cohort of administrators starting the Lynch Leadership Microacademy. This is in addition to our first cohort finishing their 2nd year. We would also like to highlight our book talks with Ayanna Cooper, the author of Injustice for L's. Lastly, our principals, department heads, CITs, VPs, and program specialists are participating in monthly PLCs. Julie and Glenda will share more on this in a bit. You can find additional professional learning opportunities on the plan itself. The framework for Focus Area 2 centers around data analysis, which is an essential component of progress monitoring, a vital process in any teaching cycle. The systems and structures listed on Focus Area 2, including PLCs, ILTs, and SIP teams, are in place at every school for the first time. These educational programs listed allow us to monitor student progress in multiple content areas. Additionally, we would like to highlight 2 programs, the STAMP test, which promotes bilingualism among students and staff, and Elevation, an online platform that houses L student data and lesson supports.
Okay, the 3rd and final focus area is curriculum and instruction. The intent of this focus area is to provide both vertical and horizontal alignment in all of our curricula. As noted on the document, teachers and administrators provide sheltered instructional supports for L's and inclusive practices for students with disabilities. This year, we have centered our work around providing intentional instruction, which includes academic discourse at the center. Over there.
Thank you. So coming back to me, Julie and I are actually going to discuss the different focus areas, specifically the district PLC, and unpack that a little bit so that we can share a little bit more of what we are doing in those PLCs. So before we begin, I just want to share that Julie will kind of discuss, where the journey began, and then we'll get into really unpacking the PLC, which I'm very excited about.
Thank you, Glenda. So during the summer of 2022, this past summer, the curriculum department facilitated workshops for school leaders to ensure aligned structures and systems across schools in order to support this district strategic plan. These workshops focused on systems and structures to ensure equitable access to rigorous learning. As Allison mentioned, the systems and structures listed in Focus Area 2, including the professional learning communities, instructional leadership teams, and school improvement planning teams, are in place at every school for the first time. School improvement plans, professional learning communities, and instructional leadership teams all use data to support equitable access for all students and raise student achievement through a 2-way communication system with all stakeholders who work collaboratively to implement best practices. Glenda's going to talk about the professional learning structure and how it supports effective practice and excellent instruction.
I am very excited to talk about PLC. It is really like the joy of the work that I am doing this year, so I am really excited to discuss this. PLCs is something that you may be familiar with. It actually began, to branch out in schools and are at the school levels, where there are professional learning communities with grade level or content-specific staff members, and they have an opportunity to plan, their lessons, curriculum, do professional development. So really, a lot of that work started to bridge the idea for us to make sure that, we have like alignment and connection with a lot of the arc of the work that we're doing in the district strategic plan. So the vision for us this year was really making sure that we were able to provide a similar structure, right, and align ourselves with that structure at multiple levels. And I think what is really phenomenal about the work that we're doing here is that in each of those PLCs, there is an opportunity of engaging also with district level members in content areas, right? So we have representatives from the MLE department present, we have representatives from the special ed department, we have curriculum members, many curriculum members from different departments also represented in all of the PLCs. And so what is really great is that they're also differentiated by different positions within the district so that we can talk very specific about the needs of each of the specific roles in the district, right? And that the main focus and vision for that work is rooted in our definition of excellent instruction. What does that look like? What does that feel like? What does that mean, right? So really, the work of this is making sure that we have a clear trajectory for the work that is happening in the classrooms, right? So we wanted to make sure that our leadership teams across the entire district were aligned with that same vision in a vertical alignment. So I am just going to hand off so that you can see a visual about how there's also alignment within our actual planning of the work, right? And part of that alignment is we created an arc of the work and a trajectory aligned to not only some of the work that is happening with Lynch leadership, but also aligned with the discussion and the topics that are happening in the book talks. So I'm going to hand it over to Julie so she can share a little bit more about that.
Great. Thank you. Did I come up? No.
Do it again.
There we go.
One more, yeah.
Okay. So all of the district PLCs, as Glenda was mentioning, are focused and aligned. So here you see the arc of the work that all of the PLCs will focus on during this school year. And the sessions are as follows: defining excellent instruction, understanding data, effective PLCs and engagement with student tasks, define leadership coaching, calibrate leadership coaching, evaluate current levers, tools, and resources for English learners and students with disabilities, understand and create tools and resources for English learners and students with disabilities, identify opportunity gaps in district, schools, and classrooms, and identify goals that will address these opportunity gaps. So the arc of the work in the professional learning communities connects to the book talk that we are all engaged with Ayanna Cooper. And those book talks are connected intentionally in the chapters. And these connections create great opportunities for us to apply the learning from the book talk and into our district practices. And so I'm going to hand it back to Glenda to talk more about the tools and the resources.
So I think one of the things that is also pretty amazing about the work that we are doing is that from it naturally are coming a lot of, we are creating a lot of amazing resources. Those resources are also, leaders want to utilize them beyond the work that we are doing together with them. And so from that, we have actually aligned a lot of our work with Michael Molnar so we can be able to give access to the work that we're doing in our PLCs beyond the sessions that we have. So many of the sessions that we have actually developed are now in Canvas, which is a platform that all the school leaders have access to. And so they can really use these resources and elevate them in whatever way they see fit for their school and communities and for their own PLCs. So this is just an example of some of those resources that are now available in the Canvas. And as you will note, a lot of the work that we are doing is rooted in academic discourse, so there are a lot of resources and even modules that people can participate in independently, also built out in the Canvas site. So I really thought this was an opportune moment to really celebrate the hard work that our leaders were doing. So with permission from all of them, and I spoke to them personally, I am sharing some photos of the work that we are doing. And as you can see, they are engaged in really deep discussion about excellent instruction and what that means and looks like in LPS. And lastly, I also wanted to show an example of some of the work that we have been doing. On the left side, you'll see kind of a word splash of, brainstorming session around what excellent instruction looks like. And so on the right side, what you'll see is one example of a group definition that was created by leaders on, again, how they are defining excellent instruction. So that is the work that we've been doing. I would love to hear any questions that any of you have or any comments, please.
Thank you. Member Dugan, Member Magnolia.
Okay, well, thank you for all your hard work. Obviously, this is a reflection of a lot of work that you've put into it, and I really appreciate that. I guess my one question is, and just to give a little, being a teacher myself, oftentimes when you go to professional development after a day of teaching, you guys know how that is. So I guess, are you providing for teacher feedback on this, just on the level of engagement to make sure that they are getting things that they need for their classroom? Because again, again, being an educator, it can be frustrating at times when you go to these things and you don't get a whole lot back from it. So I guess, are we open to teacher feedback? And if we are, what do we do with it from there?
Sure. I love that question.
Not to attack. That's not the intent of this.
Not at all. I love answering questions. So I would love to take that question. One of the things that we were really intentional and continue to be intentional about our planning is we really created a thoughtful approach to how we're going to do professional learning communities. So we have sections of the actual learning that is happening, and we're extremely intentional to make sure that that is a learning that is engaging, right? So, there is time for collaborative work, and then we end with work time. So whatever the arc of the learning and the objectives are for that time, there is an opportunity for direct application with what they need for their school. Because the intention is, we want people to leave with something valuable that can be directly applied into schools. So that is one way to respond to your question. And then I would say the second way is that we have a survey that we have any member that is in any of the PLC sessions, they respond to. And so it is a rating on how we're actually meeting the objective that we intended to present. And then we also always have a section where there is an opportunity for open dialogue and communication. And so typically, the way that we've also structured the follow-up sessions is we start with that data. Here's the data that you have presented and shared to us for each of the objectives. Really own the fact that, maybe we did a really great job meeting one objective, and in this area, this is an area that we are going to have to grow and continue to work on. And then also, there is some really great feedback, that people have shared that we have certainly made sure to respond to at each time. So we are extremely open to feedback because we want this to be really effective for them.
I appreciate that answer. Yeah. Please.
So, no, sorry, I just want to add one point.
Absolutely.
All of the points Glenda made, and we actually, to that end, the feedback, we do adapt the sessions for the participants in front of us. So each of the sessions, there's a congregation of a variety of different roles, and we are very intentional about how we structure that PLC. While there's a thread through, there's also an adaptation that's exclusively and specifically targeting to that audience and to those participants. So I think that's also a way in which we're valuing their time and engaging them in hopefully ways that feel meaningful.
You said something very important there, valuing their time. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Can I add one more thing?
Absolutely. I would love to hear from you. Yes. No, and I'm excited for it too. I didn't mean for my question to come off.
I'd like to share some additional feedback that we've gotten that's been really great too. A lot of times PLCs are happening sort of in isolation at the school level, and so they're very, very familiar with that. But I know for us at the high school level, in the middle school actually, this is really the first time that they've had the opportunity to PLC together as at a district level from all different schools. So we have department heads who are, independently running their own department, really coming together and getting to share and collaborate in a way that they haven't before. So I think it's really creating some collegiality that maybe didn't exist before,
Right.
and they're very excited about that.
That's great.
So I wanted
Great to hear.
share that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great. I had Member Magnolia, and then Member Gately, and then Member Capola.
So thank you very much. I really appreciated the presentation. And I want to make sure that I'm understanding when you're talking about the PLCs and the materials you're doing, that we're talking really about sort of a metacognitive approach in order to sort of make sure that as folks are delivering the actual curriculum, that they're deliberate in the way that they are approaching various constituencies that are going to be in their classrooms. Am I understanding sort of I just boiled that whole thing down to one sentence, right? Did I get it right? Okay. So the thing that I have heard from a number of teachers is really about timing. Okay, so my question to you is about sometimes when there is new curricular rollout, the materials don't really come in enough time to do a deep dive with taking this very high level kind of macro approach and saying, okay, well, what does that mean for doing this with this specific material? So I did hear from a number of teachers, it's like, it's the first week of classes and we're just getting the materials now for things. And I know that is, supply chain, et cetera. There's a lot of these things out of our hands. But my question to you is, how can you accommodate the kind of timing that puts pressures on teachers to sort of take these really great ideas? Like I love that the LMS, that's Canvas, the learning management system, is accessible to folks whenever. But it often takes quite a deliberative process to take this high-level academic discourse and be like, okay, well, what does that mean I'm going to do with this worksheet? If you don't get that worksheet until like 2 days before you have to use that worksheet. So can you talk a little bit about how your department is approaching the very real timing issues that materials are getting delivered to the people who are implementing them with these great high-level discussions that are like getting people jazzed about doing what they want to do, but the devil is always in the details.
I can talk to that first, and if anyone wants to add, they can certainly do so. When I'm not sure how to respond to the worksheet because, typically those resources are kind of created if a teacher is utilizing that within the school. But certainly about the resources, most of the resources have actually arrived in the buildings. I would say it was definitely disheartening for all of our community members. We own that. We've definitely communicated the fact that, yes, there are definitely things, I think, still as an impact of, COVID, right, that has impacted shipping across the nation. And so we are aware of that. So one of the things that we made sure to do, the one place that we're still seeing things like that is mentor techs and kind of the younger levels. Outside of that, all of the resources are available. But we made sure that all digital resources were purchased to avoid any of that happening. So now any of the maps that are available, all those digital resources are actually available even if they don't have the copy in hand, because we are aware that some of those things are out of our control, but having a digital resource is not. So we have responded to that particular piece. So timing within necessarily the school day, I would say one of the things that I think is so valuable about having a PLC structure is that is intentionally grounded in coming together to share tasks, coming together to read text together, to really dissect and unpack that work together collaboratively. And so that's why I really appreciate that there's an intentional consideration of having PLCs throughout the district, right? But now also at the administration level, so that we're supporting a lot of those questions that sometimes come to leaders. They can come back, they can come to the PLC and really unpack how they want to address and respond to that, and really plan for that during the work time. So that's why I feel so passionate about this, because I think one thing that is really valuable is that there is a lot more access this year as a result of the PLC structure than maybe we have not had before. So where we talk about time, we've also created time, right, together, collaboratively. So I am very excited about that. Did anyone want to add? Okay, that's.
Thank you.
Member Gately, Member Kapala.
Glenda, but I don't want to call you Glenda, Ms. Cologne. We sat down, Ms. Capola, myself, the deputy, and we had a discussion about how teachers were struggling getting 2 new curricula, plus not having all the resources that they needed, and we discussed that. And to add to Dr. Magnolia, I too heard those, and we came and expressed our concerns. But I did want to do a little feedback. I just recently heard that I'm glad you've listened, because a lot of the CITs did sort of come in and get an extra training on, I think, my view. And then the teachers went down and they got retaught on my view, and it was successful. But I was glad that came to fruition, and I hope, like next year, if we're going to continue with our new curricula, and we're going to sort of slow it down a little bit so that it doesn't get rushed out like it did this year, so teachers don't get overwhelmed, because I am really concerned that we may not have a lot of teachers may leave. And I just want them to stay and to fight it through, because we have the best teachers. They just need the tools to be successful. And thank you for paying attention in that meeting and getting that my view, because I know it helped a lot of teachers. Thank you.
Well, thank you, and thank you for being an advocate of our teachers.
I'm just think there's one page that we were missing. The one that I really would like to see is the excellent instruction one that you had at the very end.
Yeah.
We don't have that in our packet, so we're just wondering.
I am happy to send it along.
Okay.
It was an addition because I wanted to really celebrate the work that the leaders were doing. But yes, I can send that to you.
Great. Thank you.
And
Member Gately.
when you make that extra copy, could you make sure our student school committee woman gets it because she's really interested in this.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you all so much for the presentation, for all your work, and to everyone in the district working on this, including our teachers and
Thank you.
educators. Thank you.
Nice job.
All right, next item on the agenda is the Classical High School girls basketball team trip to University of Connecticut. What's the recommendation of the superintendent?
I so recommend. This is a great opportunity for them. They'll be going to the University of Connecticut. It's an opportunity to see a campus and get to see what a gym looks like at a college level. I absolutely recommend.
What's the will of the committee?
So moved.
The coach, just on behalf of Coach Rob Smith, he apologized he couldn't be here tonight because he had to actually scrimmaging tonight, so he gives his best, and thank you.
I just want to comment on, that would be exciting for the girls, especially there's a winning program at, UConn. It'd be a good thing for the girls.
Awesome.
Exciting.
The Huskies.
And so what is the will of the committee?
Second.
Yes, our student representative.
No, I just definitely would like to say that my sister does basketball and she's really interested in the college trip.
Awesome.
Great to hear.
I just want to
Member Pena.
just mention my colleague Eric Dugan, referee of basketball game.
I did.
I'm pretty sure he's in support of that.
I love basketball.
All that's missing is a motion to approve.
Motion to accept the.
All right.
Second.
All right, made it second. All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. Next is a request to accept a donation from UniFirst Uniform for their overflow of clothing to the Skills USA chapter at LBTI. It's a recommendation of superintendent.
I absolutely recommend that we accept this donation. I think Lynn Tech could absolutely benefit from these uniforms.
I'd like to move the acceptance of this donation.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Request to accept a donation from Emily Hilliard of 14 used violins at an estimated value of $1,050.
I'd like to move the acceptance of this donation. Oh, I forgot to get the.
That's okay. I absolutely recommend. I think we know our music program is a phenomenal program, and it's an opportunity for our students to have more instruments to use.
I'd like to move the acceptance of this donation.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. Request to accept a donation from Luthier Repair Service for repairs of 2 LPS-owned cellos valued at $1,000.
Again, I highly recommend. We want to keep our instruments in good shape, and so I thank Luthier Repair for offering this donation.
Motion to accept.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you to all the generous donors and coaches and teammates for all these exciting updates. Next item is the interpretation of school committee meetings. Member Castellanos.
First of all, I want to say thank you to Superintendent Ruggiero, the mayor, everyone I spoke to before we were able to get this on their agenda, to the stakeholders who reached out. This is about time. When you talk about interpretation of school committee meetings, I'm so excited to discuss the future updates. This topic has been on the table for some time now. Even with the previous superintendent, we've had these ongoing conversations about how we want to provide that language update to provide that equity and access to our community, and especially to our constituents. I recently got to take part in a forum for the Pickering Building School Committee where I actually was able to see a potential update that was actually it was actually amazing to see how many languages you were able to tap into, especially with the large population of Latinos. I think it's something that is not just a need, it's a must. And I wanted to have a conversation with my colleagues, with the superintendent, the mayor, and just folks in the room to really talk about how we could develop a robust plan to actually follow through and build out a sustainable language update that I know that City Hall is doing it, and I would like to see if we can model it and figure out a way that we can work together on something in that nature.
Thank you. Yeah.
A little bit I can actually share. I think Member Castellanos knows that I absolutely support this this request. It's a long time coming. We should have been doing it long ago. I asked Guillermo Sinelli, our translation interpretation staff member here, to contact Salem Public Schools, because Salem actually does translate their school committee meetings, and I was curious how they go about it, what is that process. And anyone who has participated in the webinar for the Pickering Building project, or LPAC, SPEDPAC, when they do the virtual meetings, they do a webinar, they offer translation in the 5 top languages, and parents can choose which language they want to hear the presentation in. And so it is doable, it's just a matter of the setting up the system. We found out from Salem that they do offer their meetings in a hybrid format. You could come in person and get translation, or you can do it on Zoom, the webinar model. They only do English and Spanish. I was surprised by that. I don't think we should only do Spanish. I think we are required to do the top 5 languages, so I think we need to do that. Any presentations that are going to be done or presented are provided in advance to the translators, but the actual presentation is done in English. The translators then translate it. Similar to the building project presentation, they were given the presentation in advance. The translators could read it through, know what was going to be presented, and it made it easier for them to be able to translate. The agenda is translated into Spanish only. And then it's all simultaneous translation. And what they do is so let's use Spanish as an example. They have 2 translators doing the webinar. Each one does like an hour, because it's a lot to do that. For anyone who does translate, it takes a lot to do it, and to do a full meeting, especially if it's a meeting that goes to 10, that's a lot for someone to do. So they alternate. So I would like to recommend that we put a team together. Let's really iron out the systems and the procedures and how we could get this going, and try and get this in place.
Great. Member Magnolia.
So I would like to thank Member Castellanos for bringing this forward. I had a long conversation with Manny Cruz, who is elected official, also serves in Salem on the school committee, about this in Salem. And one of the things that became really clear is that in Salem selecting only Spanish, that allowed for them to do the in-person and the electronic sort of translation simultaneously. One of my thought processes after I had that conversation with him was that because Lynn is going to probably use more languages than just Spanish, that whatever we choose going forward, this committee, that we should do one thing really well instead of several things okay. And what I mean by that is the way that we broadcast our meetings through LCTV and through the Lynn Public Schools webpage has some limitations to it that if we used a different platform, and I'm not going to name any, there would be some other options, especially if we're going to look at multiple languages. So I think that in looking at this issue of translation, we should contemplate how we broadcast our meetings, because that might be an ancillary, it might be a sort of linchpin in being able to do multiple languages simultaneously well, especially because we would likely need 2 translators because of the length of our meetings. So I just wanted to offer that perspective because Lynn is a different demographic than Salem. And because of that, I would like us to go forward doing it really well. And having thought through all of these broadcasting issues, I think is a necessary part of that.
Can I add to that there will also be a budget implication to this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you will have to hire translators or hire people who are either LPS employees, or we utilize, translators, but they need to be paid.
Member Castellanos.
As I mentioned earlier, my initial statements, I fully support that process, and I think putting together a team together to do our research and our due diligence to put together the proper research that we need to build out an effective plan of translation. With Member Magnolia, Dr. Magnolia's point, this is very past due. This is very important that we address this. This is an urgency matter. So I'm just going to leave it with that. I think, do I put together a motion, or do we leave it at where?
I think we could leave it and do it, or if you wanted to, you could maybe do a motion to authorize the superintendent to convene a working group to come up with a plan. I see, and we have a couple members that are going to want to speak as well before we make the motion. I mean, you can make the motion and put it on the table. There's still time for discussion, so whatever you want to do. But yeah, Member Gately, Member Dugan.
I'd like to make a recommendation that we ask the city person, Faustina Cuevas, who's in the room, if she would be part of this group.
Yeah, so Member Castellanos mentioned that the city is making a lot of progress on this front, something we're really proud of. So, and those efforts have been spearheaded by Faustina Cuevas, the city's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Office, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Officer, and working through the ARPA funds. Faustina's worked on putting together a team of translators that are at City Hall of some of the major languages spoken in the city. We worked over the past couple months on procuring live interpretation devices that are available for larger group meetings, and we're working on trying to make those, figuring out how to make those available to the community. We're hiring right now for a language access coordinator in the city to formalize those efforts. And so, working through the superintendent, we will absolutely make sure everyone is coordinating, and Faustina's done tremendous work on that. So,
and I want to thank Mr. Castellanos, for bringing this forward, and we're going to get this done. Thank you.
So, Brian, did you want to, Member Castellanos, did you want to make that motion? Yeah.
So I make a motion to authorize Superintendent Rosario to develop a working group to establish a translation system or position.
Perfect.
Or system.
Great.
Update.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Member Castellanos?
Yes.
Member Capola?
Yes.
Member Dugan?
Yes.
Member Gately?
Yes.
Member Magnolia?
Yes.
Member Pena?
Yes.
Mayor Nicholson?
Yes. Thank you, Member Castellanos, for bringing that up. Thanks to all of those colleagues for supporting that, and the superintendent for leading that effort. And again, to Faustina Cuevas, who's done a terrific job working with all our team on the city side. I think this is a major step forward for the city, that we are prioritizing language access, and it has every reason to take place in the public schools as well, and something I know that a lot of folks in the Lynn Public Schools team have been working on in a really meaningful way up and down the district, all over, and we're very grateful for all those efforts. Next item is the recommendation for the interim administrator of special education. As my colleagues know, this is a school committee hire, and we are starting asking for a recommendation from the superintendent.
As you all know, we had a resignation of the Administrator of Special Education. Felicia Jamison has moved on. As a result, I have thought long and hard about that position and who I would recommend to be that position in an interim position. And I feel very strongly that Jessica McLaughlin, who has been an interim in the past for us, before Felicia was hired Jessica McLaughlin was the interim in this position. She's been an administrator in that office for a number of years now. She's licensed as a school special ed administrator. She knows the inner workings of that office and knows the laws, knows what needs to get done. And so she does not intend to apply, and it's not, her intention is not because she doesn't feel she can do the job, but more that she has too many years left in her career, and it's a very stressful job, and she just feels it's too soon to be a permanent move for her. So she does not intend to apply this time around, but is very interested in and willing to go into that position until you can fill a more permanent person. So I would recommend Jessica.
Any questions? Thoughts from the committee? Yeah, Member Pena.
So the understanding that if she takes this as an interim basis, she's not going to be an applicant. So whoever accepts it as an interim cannot apply for the permanent position, or?
So that typically is your decision.
Okay, no, I thought that's what you.
But the same applied for me, right? I came in as interim not to apply.
Okay, yeah.
So that's typically what we have done. There have been historically interims that have been allowed to apply. In this particular case, it was asked, will this person be applying? And the answer was no, that this person would not.
All right.
What's the will of the committee? Member Magnolia.
I'd like to move the recommendation of the superintendent to fill the position of interim administrator of special education with, what's her name again? I'm sorry.
Jessica McLaughlin.
Jessica McLaughlin.
I'd like to make an amendment to that'd be put that she.
Well,
cannot-
let's wait. We got to get it seconded first.
All right.
So I'll second that.
All right. There's a motion made and seconded. And you want to make a motion for an amendment? Yep.
Just to make sure that cannot make an amendment that cannot be an applicant. The interim cannot apply for the.
With the stipulation that the interim would not be an applicant for the permanent position.
Yeah.
Member Magnolia,
Second.
you accept
Yes.
that?
Yes,
So
I
we don't need to vote on the amendment. It's a friendly amendment. So the motion that is now on the table is to install Jessica McLaughlin as the interim administrator of special education with the stipulation that she will not be an applicant for the permanent role. Member Castellanos.
Is this appropriate to ask who's going to be taking that position from her? Are we in that, like, who, when she goes up into her role as interim?
The deputy?
Did we, have we?
So that wouldn't be a school committee hire. Right.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. All right, great. So we don't need to do that here. Yep. So there's a motion on the table. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Member Castellanos?
Yes.
Member Capola?
Yes.
Member Dugan?
Yes.
Member Gately?
Yes.
Member Magnolia?
Yes.
Member Pena?
Yes.
Mayor Nicholson?
Yes. Next item is the 2024 budget development timeline and priorities. Superintendent.
So in your packet, you have a document that shares the timeline. It looks like this. And it starts with that, we ongoing review our Lynn Public Schools Strategic Plan, Student Opportunity Act Plan, our current district goals, and other relevant data and/or documents. That's an ongoing process. Does everyone have it?
I don't think we have it.
No.
Have it.
Yeah, on this.
First one I gave it, no? I am sorry.
Okay.
You're like, wait a minute. Now we don't have it.
We're gonna
Apologize, I thought I
make
gave
a
it.
motion to amend the agenda and move
Yeah.
that to the last item under new business.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So, next item is the search committee recommendations for superintendent for the finalist interviews, and we are joined this evening by our search consultant, Glenn Kuchar from MASC. Glenn, if you want to step forward, please. So, as you all know, we finished the screening phase of this process with the search committee, working with the screening committee that was put in place, and the search consultant that we all hired, represented by Mr. Kuchar. The committee received 16 applications and conducted 9 interviews. Those interviews were timed at 75 minutes and went through October, November, so it was over 30 hours of interviews. So a lot of work, and I just want to say thank you so much to the members of the search committee for all the tremendous effort and thought and care that was put into that process, including our own members, Member Coppola and Member Pena, thank you. And we're also joined this evening by a couple of the members, Sheila O'Neill from the Lynn Teachers Union, Faustina Cuevas from the city, who we just mentioned, and then Amy Butterworth, who's a parent. So thank you for being here tonight. Thank you to all the committee members for the tremendous work. So the recommendations that you saw were Dr. Yvonne Alvarez, Molly Cohen, and Kevin McCaskill. And the next step, and we'll talk later about the next steps following this, but the most immediate next step to move forward would be a acceptance of those candidates by the committee. So we'd be looking for a motion to approve those 3 finalists.
I make a motion that we accept the 3 candidates proposed by the committee, Dr. Yvonne S. Alvarez, Molly Cohen, Kevin McCaskill.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Member Castellanos?
Yes.
Member Coppola?
Yes.
Member Dugan?
Yes.
Member Gately?
Yes.
Member Magnolia?
Yes.
Member Pena?
Yes.
Mayor Nicholson?
Yes. Terrific. That is a big step for us, and grateful for the committee, the search committee, the school committee. We have a lot of work to do, but I'm thrilled to be in this position with 3 very strong finalists. It's a great sign for our community that we got really strong interest from people, and excited to move forward there. So one of the things I'd like us to talk about tonight is preparing for questions for the interviews. We asked everyone to send your questions in, so thank you so much for doing that. And we were advised by our search consultant that it's worth collecting these and doing some coordination to make sure that we're not duplicating the questions. The only way to do this is in open meeting. Mm-hmm. We can't meet separately and come up with the list of questions. So obviously that means that this is being done publicly. The interviews themselves are public. So whatever we do, the questions are going to be known to the public and therefore to everybody. So I just wanted to point that out. So you have the list of questions in front of you, and I'd like to ask you.
Can I stop you for a second?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Should mow.
I mean, this is a recorded meeting.
It's a public meeting, yeah.
Yeah, so,
Just wanted to make sure.
yeah, no, I know. I appreciate raising it. It's a recorded public session, so, yeah. Thank you. So, we have Glenn here, so why don't we take a minute to read through these questions? I think if there's any sort of thought about if there's things we see that are duplicated that people would be willing to sort of team up so that we're not asking the same topic more than once, I think that would be worthwhile. And while we're doing that, Mr. Kuchar is here available for any questions. Glenn, is there anything you want to add to that overview?
No, only that you know where I stand on group editing. It's a crime against humanity, and I would suggest if there are changes that you want to make that involve tweaking, pass them along to Danielle, who's been working with me very closely on all of this so that we can do that. If it's a matter of adding questions that haven't been included, addressing topics that are new, you can still, do that right up until interview time.
Great. Okay. Member Castellanos.
So I had a lot of questions. They said 4, I put 10. And the reason behind that is because I wasn't sure what the questions that were asked during the screening committee, so and as I gathered some questions that came from constituents who were staff, and I didn't reach out to the screening committee because
Just to jump in there, we did circulate the screening committee.
Okay, good.
Yeah, yep.
So I'm just saying, like, in general, like, I had other questions from other state, like, constituents, so I didn't really see those, the questions I had were really, it's public-driven for me. How, for us to move forward, like, just in terms of, there's a lot of questions on here. What part of the process, I know we're gonna be, we have can we just explain to me, please, the sites, we're gonna go to the site, right? We're gonna have a site opportunity for the candidates, and then we're gonna go and have our public forum where we interview these candidates. What is the time frame for this interview for our superintendent?
So the format that we are proposing is basically what we did last time, which is a site visit during the day, which would be schools, and then some kind of public meet and greet where that's open to the community, and then in the evening would be the actual interview, which is public in the sense that anybody can come, but it's only the school committee that are asking questions. So in terms of schedule, it's up to the committee at this point. I think that we are best served moving with some urgency. We're right now out ahead of other districts. That is going to change quickly. There are other districts that have posted, and we are going to be best served, obviously moving with thought and care and with urgency to make sure that we're able to make the decision that we want to make. So in terms of the structure, I think that we can do the site visit in the day and then do the interview in the evening. I think it would be possible if the committee so desired to do one of the days have a site visit from one of the external candidates and then an interview in the evening with another interview in the evening, because we have an internal candidate that could do a site visit more flexibly before that. So you could set it up, you have 2 nights of interviews, one night being 2 interviews, and then the second night being the interview, and then that would leave us plenty of time for deliberation. I think there's some value in grouping as if you're sort of inviting everybody in to pay attention. But that's up to us as we sort of work through this. Does that answer your question on the?
It does, Mayor Nicholson, and I do share the same urgency. I feel like we do need to. I think the timeline on this is very important, and getting this done is a strong priority for the district. Member
Payne.
So from the last committee, the search committee, we learned that so the questions were limited to a certain amount, and then we learned from my experience that they were kind of a little too long for there was too many questions. Are we going to change? What's the recommendation? Are we going to change that from 20 to reduce the questions?
For the public interview,
Yep.
This is a very important interview. So you can give yourselves as much time as you want.
Okay, so we're not limited on the time.
No, it's how much can the candidate endure, and if you talk to 2 people for 2.5 hours apiece, that's a long time. But I would say it would be reasonable to schedule a minimum of a 90-minute interview for a finalist superintendent candidate, and to include the questions that you want to make sure get asked, and try to fit them all in, and give yourself that much time. So if you were to see 2 candidates in an evening, I would suggest you give yourself plenty of time between the interviews.
Absolutely.
So that if the first one runs over, you don't bump into the second.
So that's the recommendation. Thank you.
But if there are questions that you really want to see asked, you should make sure that they get asked.
Yeah, Member Gately.
So when we go to a site visit, we'll just go to one school?
No, I think it's multiple schools, yeah.
How many schools would we go for a site visit?
When you do a site visit, you usually ask the candidate to schedule a series of visits with you, and that can include any one of a number of people. I'm not sure that more than, you might see more than one school in Lynn when the candidate comes to visit Lynn for the day. But if you're visiting the candidate, and the candidate is, let's say, a central office administrator, then they don't really have a school where you could speak to the teacher as you would with a principal. So I would be flexible about how you schedule your day, but you certainly want to talk to colleagues, supervising officials, and subordinates. And you might want to make a visit to one or more schools where the candidate has interacted.
So would you say have an elementary, middle, and high school visit?
I'm sorry?
Have a elementary, middle school, and high school visit so you can see them?
You could, and it might be appropriate if the candidate had interacted with schools at 3 different levels, and 3 different levels of people could give you feedback. That may not always be the case.
Thank you.
Okay, so, yeah, Member Magnolia.
So I just want to make a point about format, given that my colleague, Member Castellanos, does have 10 questions, and some of us only have 1 or 2, that we do a round robin style, and so that we can ensure there are questions that get asked, so that each school committee member would select in the order of importance the questions they want to ensure get asked, which would move to the priority number 1, 2 section. And then as we continue to go through our questions, if we have time, if it permits, then we can get to the questions that maybe Member Castellanos has in spades.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is a great point, and well, yeah. So we cycle through until everyone has asked their questions.
Yes,
Yeah.
because I understand why Member Castellanos feels that he needs to ask this many of them, but as somebody who, I really just have one question that's really important to me, I am happy to cede my time, but I want to make sure that Member Castellanos knows he might not get to all 10 questions. So that it's important to prioritize even within that. I also just wanted to make a point of clarification with Mr. Kuchar. You were speaking about when members of either the school committee or Lynn Public Schools goes to the district that the candidate works in.
Correct.
I believe Member Gately was talking about the site visits here in Lynn. So I think that was maybe a point of confusion.
If it's a visit to Lynn, you should have a cross-section of what the school district looks like, and that should definitely include 3 different levels, actually 4 if you're talking about CTE.
Thank you.
Or any one of, you might have an early education center that you think is also important.
Early college.
And then at the end of the day, or at some point during the day, the community members at large, especially those who would like to have been and could not be on the search committee, get an opportunity to meet the candidate and pose those questions as well. You can also have 2 candidates visiting Lynn at the same time if you have someone escorting each candidate who can make sure that the 2 are in sync without bumping into each other and getting in each other's way.
I don't like that.
That's done a lot, especially in a district this big.
Yeah, I think we could do that. I think with 3, the way it works out, we probably would be fine doing the 2 different days, and then a 3rd day for the internal candidate because it wouldn't require any travel, which of course we'll still do. So I think so. That's the idea from the next steps, I think I'd like to ask us to bring out our calendars. Yeah, Member Pena.
I just want to point out, so as far as the schedule, the plan you had in place, we're way ahead of time, correct? We're ahead of schedule.
We are on schedule.
We're on schedule.
We are on schedule, yeah.
Because before we were ahead, now we're on schedule.
We are right on schedule,
All right,
yeah.
we got it.
We had initially targeted a selection, before, I think, we said beginning of January. So, I think, obviously, there's a lot going on, and so I have a list of potential dates. So the following week, we have availability, or at least I have availability, on the 12th, the 14th, and 15th.
Sorry, I don't want to speak out of line. The 12th would not work for me, but the 14th and 15th would be perfect.
Okay.
14th. 15th.
So 14th won't work for you, Eric?
The 12th would not. 14th and 15th absolutely would.
Yeah.
Sorry. Member Dugan can do the 14th and 15th, and Member Magnolia can do the 14th and 15th.
Correct.
Yep.
I could do those two.
I'm sorry, repeat those dates?
December 14th and December 15th. So it's a Wednesday, December 14th, and a Thursday, December 15th.
I can do those 2 dates, too.
Okay. Lorraine?
I can do the 14th, but I have 2 things in the morning, and I have something in the afternoon, so no, I can't do the 14th. On the 15th, we have a leadership group Pickering meeting from 2:30 to 3:30, but I'm available other than that.
So we're scheduling, I think, the evening interview. So are you available for the evenings?
The evening,
Yeah.
definitely.
Okay, great. Yeah, I mean the site
I
visits.
thought we were talking about site visits.
No, I think what we need to do is schedule the evening interviews, and the site visits will happen that day. And I think people will have to come in and out of them as able for the visiting to see the visiting candidate, right? So is that the 14th to 15th? Is that good for everybody?
Brian,
Member Castellanos?
Castellanos.
Yeah, I could do it. Yeah.
Okay. So I think for the 14th, that would be the one where we do 2, and the 15th we would do 1. So I think we need to start obviously early, so we could, if you start the first interview at 5 and the next one at 7:30, do you think that would work?
We need a little space in between that.
That's 2.5 hours.
Just in case it overlaps or anything.
So start at 8, would you saying for the second one?
Probably give us that time, yeah.
I think we could do 5, I think the 90-minute recommendation.
Yeah.
So it would be 5 to 6:30, and we would have maybe 45 minutes to debrief.
Yeah, and just a note on the debrief, I think the approach we took on the search committee was to hold any kind of debrief until after we did the interviews.
Oh, then, yeah, so,
So it would be on the 15th.
yeah, so it would be a 5 o'clock start for the first,
Okay,
and then a 7 o'clock start for the second.
Okay.
I'm fine with that. I mean, if
Yeah.
it ran late,
Yeah.
that person's going to be
Yeah.
here, and they're not going anywhere.
How bad do you want it?
That's right, there you go.
That's the second.
Does that work for people?
How bad do you want it to stay late? Yeah. Oh, this is it?
That's the 14th, correct?
Yep.
Same thing for the 15th?
And the 15th, I think we could start
This is just one, right?
later, because it's just one, if we want to start at 6.
6:30, 6, yeah. 6, yeah.
Okay, so we have 5 o'clock on December 14th, 7 o'clock on December 14th, and 6 o'clock on December 15th.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Obviously, we have to confirm those dates with the applicants, and we will communicate that with all of you as soon as possible. And that's, that will be the goal. Any questions?
That was painless.
Well, we've gotten great guidance along the way from Mr. Kuchar and MASC. We've gotten tremendous support from my policy advisor, Danielle Smith, who's done a phenomenal job. And the whole committee really has been terrific, so appreciate it. Yeah, remember.
Yeah, I just want to thank some people here like Sheila O'Neill, Amy Butterworth, who were very helpful with the search committee, and Glenn and Faustina. Thank you, Danya. Very interactive with all of us. Thank you.
Thank you very much to the whole search committee.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.
30 long hours, huh?
Sheila O'Neill.
That's a lot. Thank you, guys. It's a long time.
All right. Thank you.
So are those are the dates for the interviews here?
Mm-hmm.
And you'll be scheduling visits to the district on those days as well?
Yes.
Okay, and then visits to the district at some point?
Yeah.
That?
Yeah. I think that will be something we coordinate on at the discretion of the committee.
Okay.
Do you typically see that being something that is scheduled with everybody, or sort of more of a?
Well, the visits to the district usually done by a smaller group of people who are available.
That's what I mean, yeah.
Visits to Lynn are generally done with an escort from the central office or somebody from the administrative team who can.
Yeah.
Who can?
Yeah. So that's what I mean. I think we will
accompany the
we will schedule through the search process the visit to Lynn, and then we'll leave it to a smaller group, to do the visit to the district. Yeah, remember Magnolia.
So what would be the rules governing whether school committee members could attend any of the visits to Lynn schools with a central office person? Obviously, there can't be more than two of us because of the open meeting law rules, but is it recommended? Is it discouraged?
It's an open meeting law violation if you are deliberating.
Okay.
If you are observing
Then we could all
and
go.
not participating and not discussing with each other,
Okay.
I don't see that as a problem.
Okay.
When you visit another district, I would suggest that a submajority of the school committee be on those visits, because discussing is impossible. It is impossible to avoid.
Yeah. Okay.
So what I want to make sure we're clear on is that we want to invite the candidates for these 3 time slots.
Mm-hmm.
And we want them to plan on spending a day in Lynn on those 3 days. So you'll have 2 people coming to Lynn for the day, and whoever is escorting them will, on the 14th, you'll probably want 2 people to escort. And somebody will need to entertain one of the candidates until 7:30 rather than 5 o'clock. In terms of the visits to their districts, you do want to get those done sooner rather than later. Now, the next week, or it's a short term to put it's a short period of time to ask somebody to put a site visit together and say, hi, it's Friday, we need to come visit you next Tuesday. You might want to, do you have a date for actual making a selection?
I think it's, will depend how the interviews go. I mean, I if we're not sending the full contingent, I think we can potentially schedule the visit offline, as opposed to right now, the sending visit.
Okay. Well, it may be that after you do the interviews, you may wish to do site visits to a smaller number of people, or you might do it to all three. You want to hold that decision until then, or do you want to plan on visiting all three and tentatively scheduling a date?
I think the former is what I'm sensing. Yeah.
Tentatively,
So hold off.
hold off on the site visits to the district?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we will be in touch with the candidates and schedule them in a particular way. And
Okay. Is everybody okay with that as a plan? Okay. Okay. Great. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Glenn.
Thank you.
And then, I guess, to the extent that people have edits and tweaks, of course, send those to Danielle and myself, and we can help coordinate. All right, should we take up the budget?
Yes, I'm so sorry for that confusion. So you now have a copy of the budget timeline for our fiscal year '24 budget. The ongoing work of reviewing the Lynn Public Schools Strategic Plan, Student Opportunity Act Plan, current district goals, and other relevant data and/or documents that happens ongoing. January 19th, 2023, we will do new budget reflection framework for building principals and directors. We'll release it to them at that point. We will be sharing, actually, at our next principal directors meeting, this budget timeline so that they are aware. And then January, February, we're waiting, obviously, for the governor's budget to be released so that we have an idea of what that budget's going to look like. January 26th through February 17th, we'll do individual small group budget collaboration meetings with principals and directors by request. Last year, we did an Excel spreadsheet for the budget proposals, and it allowed us to be able to sort and see how it connected to our strategic plan. And so we then asked principals and directors, anyone who felt they wanted a small group, an opportunity to come in to present to us or ask questions, they could schedule that. So that's what that is about. Then the February 27th through March 17th, the executive leadership team will do a budget deliberation and development. And then in March, Student Opportunity Act amendment discussions with the school committee. March through April, we'll do follow-up meetings with principals and directors. And then in April, the Student Opportunity Act amendment is due, and we'll finalize and present a final budget to the school committee. And then at some point, we'll want to schedule the 30-day, it's a 30-day.
The public hearing.
Yeah,
Yep.
for the public hearing. So we'll want to just get that scheduled so that we don't have to wait.
Questions from the committee? All right, thank you. Next item is ratification of votes, if any, in the Building and Grounds Subcommittee. Member Gately.
No motion was made.
Thank you. And the Personnel Subcommittee. Member Capola.
Yes. My stuff over there,
I think,
Elementary,
yeah, it was an elementary principal.
and then the data implementation position.
We have a lot of papers up here.
A lot of papers. Okay, yes. We made a motion to accept the elementary principal posting, the new posting, and also to accept the, what was that title?
The
long
data,
title.
yep. No, this one is just the Director of Computer Implementation.
Director of Computer Implementation.
So let's do the elementary first.
Data.
Data. No,
Implementation.
No, this is what the title in the union book is.
So let's do the vote on the elementary. Is there a second on the elementary?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Member Castellanos?
Yes.
Member Capola?
Yes.
Member Dugan?
Yes.
Member Gately?
Yes.
Member Magnolia?
Yes.
Member Pena?
Yes.
Mayor Nicholson?
Yes. And then this one is the,
Elementary principal posting, and it was a
No.
motion.
the other position. We just did the elementary.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Sorry. The data director of computer implementation.
Okay. There a second?
Second.
Second.
Roll call?
Member Castellanos?
Yes.
Member Capola?
Yes.
Member Dugan?
Yes.
Member Gately?
Yes.
Member Magnolia?
Yes.
Member Pena?
Yes.
Mayor Nicholson?
Yes. Attorney Greenspan, if there's a scrivener's error in the title, that can be corrected. Is that correct? Yes. Okay, great. All right, next item is a request. Actually, do you want to take a motion to amend the agenda, move the executive session to the end?
So moved?
Any second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, turn over superintendent.
Sure. I just want to note that you have the school committee dates for the upcoming year in your packet. I don't know, does that have to be approved?
We should look at it. Typically, we make a couple changes here and there, so why don't we do that at the next meeting?
Okay.
What was that, Donna?
So I am going to read my superintendent report. The quote for this meeting: "Never underestimate the difference you can make in the lives of others. Step forward, reach out, and help. Reach out to someone that might need a lift." Quote by Pablo. As I drive home each evening, I cannot help but see the festive lights and other representations of the holiday season. It seems like we are all trying to show our holiday spirit and our desire to share our joy with others. I also share those feelings and love for this time of year for the same reasons. At the same time, however, from a professional standpoint, I remain mindful of the fact that the season can also bring stress and sadness. Our district has had great sadness over these recent few weeks. As a result, our clinical team and school leaders have worked hard to support all impacted by the great losses their school and community have endured. Our clinical team has also devised and will share resources to support staff and families over the holiday season. This includes helpful tips, available resources, and a daily calendar of activities in which families can engage to promote mental health. We acknowledge that families feel loss and challenge in different ways and thus want to offer a helping hand through the holiday season. This time of year is also accompanied by well-deserved, much-needed winter vacation. Our return in January marks the midpoint of the school year, and it feels timely to report on the continued work we've been doing to elevate student voice with the inclusivity panels. As you know, those panels were born out of a resolution adopted by the school committee in the summer of 2021. These panels are designed to engage students in addressing issues related to race, equity, and in our secondary schools. The district continues to partner with the Equity Imperative to leverage the Youth Participatory Action Research Model to select an issue to research, present the research process on a quarterly basis, and provide recommendations to the stakeholders of each school district for change. As a district, we have implemented lead mentors to support this initiative and strengthened our ability to lead this work on our own. Each secondary school has identified mentors who have engaged in professional learning to prepare them for the work and commence the student recruitment effort. We have also added an elementary school pilot prompted by the middle school inclusivity panel members. We have added 3 schools, Druitt's, Hood, and Tracy, to begin a grade 5 inclusivity panel within their schools. Our hope is that by doing this, we can strengthen the members at each level over time. This process continues to expand and expand the development of these panels and is on track to becoming a strong part of our school's cultures. I'm happy to share with you and to congratulate both Laurie Malika for being awarded the Director of State, Federal, and Foundation Grants and Regulatory Compliance. That's the long one, Donna. And Johanny Castillo for being awarded the Manager of Transportation. Both are competent candidates and will be great additions to our administrative team. The Pickering building project process is moving along swiftly. We held the Visioning Community Forum last week and the final visioning meeting with the planning team last night to collect feedback on how we envision the physical space in the new middle school. Our next public meeting will be held on Monday, December 19th at 6 p.m. This meeting is the community forum to collect feedback on site location from the community members. This will be a hybrid meeting, meaning a choice of in-person or join through the webinar link provided on the flyer that was sent out via school messenger. Finally, an update on our efforts in elevating the linguistic diversity of our staff and the progress in assessing language proficiency so that they may receive the bilingual biliterate stipend. Although the results of the STAMP language proficiency assessment are not in yet, we will be sharing that data as soon as it becomes available. Originally, 276 staff members expressed interest in the bilingual biliterate stipend. 58 staff members met the criteria without needing to be tested. On December 3rd, we tested 124 individuals in 8 languages: Arabic, Chinese, French, Polish, Portuguese, Russian, Spanish, and Swahili. We will also offer the ALTA proficiency language assessment on January 14th in an additional 8 languages: Albanian, Arabic, Bangla, Greek, Haitian Creole, Romanian, Turkish, and Urdu. We also have testing candidates in ASL, American Sign Language. The quick summary, we had the total of 276, 58 who met the criteria without needing to test, 208 who took the STAMP measured proficiency or who are eligible to. 140 submitted payment, 124 tested, and there were 17 total languages represented. An update will be forthcoming when all test results are officially scored and will be communicated to each candidate.
Thank you, Superintendent Ruggiero. I just want to add quickly thank you for the update on the Pickering process. We're all very excited to see that moving forward. I want to particularly thank Member Castellanos and Member Gately for your work on the school building committee. I know they are both working on helping us get the word out about the forum, going out into the neighborhoods and communicating with people, and we appreciate that and are looking forward to a great discussion on the 19th. Member Gately.
I believe Mr. Castellanos and I are going out with flyers on Saturday morning, and if any other member would like to join us, we're going to just be dropping off flyers on Saturday morning. Do we have a time, 9 o'clock, 10? We'll talk. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right. I think the next is a request for executive session, and if you could just read out the 3 items in the motion.
Make a motion for request for executive session to approve the executive session minutes of October 27th. Am I missing something?
Yeah, that's right.
And for 2022 request for executive session for contract negotiations with non-union personnel Tina Hoofnagel, and interim administrator of the special education. Request for executive session to discuss strategies with respect to collective bargaining relative to LSAA, Nurses Local 3147A, and Lynn Teachers Union Local 1037. The discussion of these matters, which involve strategy in an open meeting, may have a detrimental effect on and compromise the bargaining position of the public body.
Second.
Roll call?
Member Castellanos?
Yes.
Member Capola?
Yes.
Member Dugan?
Yes.
Member Gately?
Yes.
Member Magnolia?
Yes.
Member Pena?
Yes.
Member Nicholson?
Yes. All right.
Got feelings now.
Motion to return to regular session.
So moved. Second.
Give you a chance, sorry.
All right, did we just make a motion?
Yeah, the motion was to return to regular session.
Member Castellanos?
Yes.
Member Capola?
Yes.
Member Dugan?
Yes.
Member Gately?
Yes.
Member Magnolia?
Yes.
Member Pena?
Yes.
Mayor Nicholson?
Yes. So we need to do 3 motions here. The first is an agreement with the Nurses Local 3147A for staff on maternity leave to participate in part-time employment.
So moved.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Member Castellanos?
Yes.
Member Capola?
Yes.
Member Dugan?
Yes.
Member Gately?
Yes.
Member Magnolia?
Yes.
Member Pena?
Yes.
Mayor Nicholson?
Yes. Next is a agreement with LTU Local 1037 for staff on maternity leave to work part-time.
So moved.
Second.
Member Castellanos?
Yes.
Member Capola?
Yes.
Member Dugan?
Yes.
Member Gately?
Yes.
Member Magnolia?
Yes.
Member Pena?
Yes.
Mayor Nicholson?
Yes. And then an MOA with the LSAA for the LEAP director.
So move.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Member Castellanos?
Yes.
Member Capola?
Yes.
Member Dugan?
Yes.
Member Gately?
Yes.
Member Magnolia?
Yes.
Member Pena?
Yes.
Mayor Nicholson?
Yes. Seeing no further business,
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Adjourned. Thank you.
Okay.
Never had you make me feel so all alone. You make me feel so all alone. My broken heart has turned to stone. Look at me, I'm so alone. You make